Good afternoon, and live from the Sunshine Coast, it is your Sunshine Coast Regional District regular board meeting of Thursday, September 10th, 2020. And I'd like to acknowledge that the SCRD is located on the territories of the Seashell and the Squamish First Nations, and officially call us to order. Before we go into adopt our amended agenda, I would like to draw everybody's attention. I am often remiss in doing so. On page 3 of the agenda package is all of the upcoming meeting dates, and I think it's really important to acknowledge all of the meetings, especially all of the wastewater engagement meetings that are upcoming that staff and directors are embarking upon, and thank you very much for that community engagement. Those are very valuable meetings to have. And with that, we do have an amended agenda in front of us. And I know, Director McMahon, there was an item that you would like to add under correspondence. Okay, and that is the Climate Caucus letter. Is that correct?
Yes, I also wanted to add a discussion of UBCM under new business.
Okay, so Climate Caucus under communication, and add new business, UBCM. Okay. Directors, are there any other items you would like to add to our already amended agenda? Or staff, is there anything else that we need to add in? Nope. Okay. So with that, I'd like to ask for a motion to adopt this amended agenda. So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. So as we go through here, what I'm going to ask is, I'm going to ask for a motion to receive all minutes, reports, and communication, please. So moved, Director Seegers, seconded, Director Kroll. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so first up, we have our regular board meeting minutes of July 23rd and July 20th, or July 30th, sorry, on Annex A and Annex B of our package. We've already received these minutes. Before we move to adopt these minutes, are there any errors, omissions, or deletions that need to be, or subtractions, additions, multiplications, anything in there, errors, typos? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adopt these minutes, please. Both sets of minutes. So move, Director McMahon, seconded, Director Toth. Call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. Is there any business arising from the minutes or unfinished business? Okay, seeing none. We have no presentations or delegations today. Next up on our agenda, we have our reports. We have first up, page 23A through C, which is the Planning and Community Development Committee recommendations of earlier today. Numbers 1, 2, 4 through 6, and 15 of earlier today. Directors, before we adopt these recommendations as a whole, would you like to pull any of them out to debate separately? I would also like to add kudos into Director Toth for the chairing of the Planning and Community Development meeting earlier today. That was a very heavy agenda, and thank you very much for leaving us all with some time for lunch, and we really appreciate that. And thank you very much to the planning staff, our GM Hall, your department did a very good job with that today, so thank you very much. And yeah, kudos to Director Toth for getting us through that very efficiently. Okay, so seeing none of those recommendations to get pulled, I will ask for a motion to adopt these recommendations as presented. So moved, Director Ties, seconded, Director Kroll. Any further discussion on these items? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. Seeing as our CAO is not here, we have received his report. So what we'll do is we will come back to it after, hopefully he'll have an opportunity to join us and can answer any questions that are presented in that report, 23 pages 23D and E of our package. We have a communications item under 4A, which is the Gambier Island Local Island Trust. We discussed this earlier today. We have received this communication and we have passed a recommendation in regards to this communication. Directors, did you want to discuss this any further? Director Seegers.
Thank you. I don't see that recommendation anywhere in the material that came forward. And I thought we were looking to have the recommendation come forward as well, so that, oh, hang on, it is there, sorry, I missed it, yeah. Okay, good.
Recommendation number 6 on page 23B.
Yeah, I missed it, thank you, good, I just wanted to make sure it was there, thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, but other than that, any further conversation on this item? Okay, seeing none. We have no motions today. But we have a plethora of bylaws, and I'm glad I've got a jug of water here because this is going to take a while. So with that, we are going to move to Annex C of our package, page 24 to 26. And we are going to go for first reading. So I'd like to ask for a motion for first reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Sanitary Landfill Site Amendment Bylaw, number 405.22, 2020. This is a weighted vote of all directors, and the weighting is listed there on your agenda page. And if I can ask for a motion for first reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Sanitary Landfill Site Amendment Bylaw number 405.22, 2020. So move, Director Kroll, first reading. May I have a seconder? I see plenty of seconds. Any further discussion on this for first reading? Director Toth.
Yeah, I voted against this when it was at committee, and I still think it's the wrong thing to do. So I'll be voting against it now. I've done a little bit more research and have discovered that there are other areas in the province where they subsidize their mattress recycling program to prevent illegal dumping in the woods. And I think that this is the wrong direction to go.
Okay. Thank you, Director Toth. Any further conversation before I call the question on this? Seeing none, I'll call the question on first reading. All those in favor? Okay, hands nice and high. All those in favor? Okay, all those opposed? Director Lee and Director Toth? Okay, and I'm assuming you both would like to have that noted? Okay. Okay, Director Lee and Director Toth are against that. Thank you. Okay, we'll now, I'll now ask for a motion for second reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Sanitary Landfill Site Amendment Bylaw number 405.22, 2020. So move second reading, Director McMahon, seconded by Director Kroll. Any further debate on this item? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Those opposed? Director Toth and Director Lee? I'm assuming I won't ask if you want it noted every time. We'll just assume we'll note you as opposed every time, okay? Director Kroll, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of third reading? Thank you. Those opposed? Director Toth and Director Lee again, thank you. Motion carries. And now for adoption of Sunshine Coast Regional District Sanitary Landfill Site Amendment Bylaw number 405.22, 2020. So moved adoption, please. Director Kroll, seconded Director McMahon. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Those opposed? Director Toth and Director Lee. Thank you. Okay. Moving on, Annex D, number on our agenda. And we are looking for first, second, third, and bylaw. This is rural areas B, D, E, and F. And so may I ask for a motion for first reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Waste Collection Amendment Bylaw number 431.24 2020. So moved first reading. Director McMahon, and seconded Director Hiltz. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Wonderful. Motion passes for first reading. For second reading, Sunshine Coast Regional District Waste Collection Amendment Bylaw number 431.24 2020. So moved second reading. Area F. Thank you, Director Hiltz, and seconded. Director McMahon from Area E. Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. And for third reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Waste Collection Amendment Bylaw number 431.24 2020. So moved third reading. Director Hiltz, and seconded Director McMahon. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Director Ty, okay, in favor, okay, D, E, and F, thank you. Those opposed? Motion carries. And for adoption of Sunshine Coast Regional District Waste Collection Amendment Bylaw number 431.24 2020. So moved adoption. Director Ties, seconded. Director Hiltz. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next up, number 7, Annex E of our package. We're looking for first, second, and third reading of this Square Bay Community Sewage bylaw. So I'm going to, and this is voting all directors because it is only within one rural area. So I'll look for a motion for first reading of Square Bay Community Sewage Treatment System Service Capital Reserve Fund Bylaw number 726 2020. So move first reading. Director Kroll, thank you. Seconded Director Toth. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of first reading? Thank you. Those opposed? Seeing none, we'll carry on to, that passes to second reading of Square Bay Community Sewage Treatment System Service Capital Reserve Fund Bylaw number 726 2020. So moved second reading. Second, moved by Director Seegers, seconded Director Kroll. Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, we will now carry on to third reading of Square Bay Community Sewage Treatment System Service Capital Reserve Fund Bylaw number 726 2020. So move third reading. Director Toth, seconded Director Seegers. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay. Moving on to Annex F, which is once again, all directors receive a vote on this as it is only happening in one area. So I will ask for a motion to move first reading of Lily Lake Community Sewage Treatment System Service Capital Reserve Fund Bylaw, number 727 2020. So moved first reading, Director Lee, seconded Director Kroll. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Director Seegers, seconded Director Toth. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Those opposed? Motion carries. And for third reading of Lily Lake Community Sewage Treatment System Service Capital Reserve Fund Bylaw number 727 2020. So move third reading. Director Lee, and seconded Director Kroll. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, next up. Oh, wow, we have another bylaw reading. And this is Annex G of our package on page 34, number 9 in your agenda. And this is for Saginaw Ridge Community. Once again, all directors get to have one vote on this, and we'll be doing first, second, and third reading. And this is for Saginaw Ridge Community Sewage Treatment System Service Capital Reserve Fund Bylaw number 728/2020 carries. And for second reading of Saginaw Ridge Community Sewage Treatment System Service Capital Reserve Fund Bylaw number 728/2020. So move second reading. Director Lee, seconded Director Seegers. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. And for third reading of Saginaw Ridge Community Sewage Treatment System Service Capital Reserve Fund Bylaw number 728/2020. So move third reading. Director Lee, seconded Director Kroll. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Wow, that was a lot of bylaws and with a lot of words. So thank you so much. That was awesome. So with that, we are just going to circle back to number 4 on our agenda package, which is the Chief Administrative Officer's report as of September 10th, 2020. CO McKinley, are you good to present your report and answer any questions?
Absolutely. Want to apologize for the report coming in late. Appreciate the help getting it all put together, and I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Okay, I'm going to go first to Director McMahon, please.
There was some discussion of getting back to in-person meetings, and I just wanted to know if there's any update on that. In-person meetings in terms of like the public meetings, board meetings, those types of things? Yeah, board meetings or people wanting to attend.
I'm going to happily turn that one over to our corporate officer.
Over to Ms. Reed.
Thank you, Chair. So we are moving towards that. The boardroom is currently being fitted with some technology that will facilitate a hybrid type meeting, given that not everybody will be able to attend in person. So what we anticipate moving forward will be a combination of electronic and in-person meetings. And at the very least, allowing the public in to watch the meeting according to COVID health and safety protocols. I'm just finishing up with a draft electronic meeting procedures document that we will be sharing widely, and it will address some of that procedure for how we will move forward with in-person meetings. So we're getting there.
And just to add to that, I think the experience that people will have, even though it's going to be a little odd and there's going to be less people able to be in the boardroom, the actual in-meeting experience will be better than it ever has been.
Terrific. Any other questions for the CAO? Director Hiltz.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on that in-person meeting, and the phrase "best efforts" was that came out of the ministerial orders, and the best effort was to get back to all in-person. Is that what the order is trying to achieve? Like get back to no Zoom, or what is the balance that the best effort is trying to achieve?
Corporate Officer.
Thank you, Chair. So the best effort standard is a little higher than reasonable. And what the ministry is attempting to do is to just put us in a place where we're thinking about resuming normal. And I'll put that in air quotes because we're not really sure what that looks like yet. But ultimately, the orders that they passed under they're under the state of emergency, and some of the provisions for meetings are outside of the scope of the Local Government Act. So they want us to be prepared to resume normal operations, but also at the same time to move slowly and cautiously toward that. So there's no timeline in position, but just make best efforts where possible. And if that's not possible, then try and meet the public expectation for participation in meetings in other ways. So I did bring a report forward before the break that addressed some of those issues of what we were doing to accommodate the public's interest in attending, seeing, hearing meetings. We'll also be looking at potentially live streaming some of our advisory meetings and APCs. So as we go forward and the situation unfolds, we'll have a better idea of what that will look like. But we're making slow, progressive steps toward that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the CAO regarding his report? All right, seeing none, I'm going to also circle back. My apologies. We had added under correspondence, we had added the Climate Caucus letter, and then I went and I skipped over it, but I was reminded vehemently via text message that I had forgotten it. So let's circle back to the Climate Caucus letter that was part of communications. And Director McMahon, do you want to introduce this, please?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, lost all my buttons here. The Climate Caucus is asking the federal government for leadership on tracking greenhouse gas emissions. And just in brief, to standardize targets for all levels of government, make the targets binding, identify what data needs to be collected to track emissions, legislate the development of and access to this data, standardize greenhouse gas emission inventory methodologies at all levels of government, etc., and incentivize municipalities to transition to zero carbon. These are all important. If we can't measure it, we can't manage it, and if we're all doing different things at different paces, we're not going to get all that far. So I think this is a good request and that we should support it.
Okay, so Director McMahon, to clarify, the Climate Caucus is looking for a letter of support from the regional district to support their initiative to lobby the federal government?
No, they are asking us to sign the letter.
To ask to sign their letter?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can either sign as individuals or sign as governments.
Okay. Okay, Director Toth, I see your hand.
Thank you. I just had a question. I am only seeing this for the first time about 5 minutes before this meeting started, so I'm wondering when they actually had this letter together. They have, I believe, in the past looked for something with a very tight turnaround on support.
No, I did send this out last week, and the link was in the email I sent out, and the letter was ready at that time.
Okay. I must have missed it on the first pass around then. My apologies.
Okay, so I will look to Director Tighe. I see your hand.
Yes, I'm happy to make that motion that we, as a board, sign that letter of, from the Climate Caucus.
Okay, I see that seconded by Director McMahon. Are there any further questions or comments on this? Any anything staff would like to add? If I don't know if staff has had a chance to review it as well, but I'm sure they're familiar with the work of the Climate Caucus. Climate Caucus, Director McMahon and Director Tighe, I know you're closely involved with it. it's essentially it's a group of elected individuals from across the country that are lobbying and creating a network of other elected officials to ensure that local government is part of the conversation around climate change in our country. I think that's probably the quickest synopsis of it. I attended one of their initial meetings, which was at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities last June in Quebec. In June 2019, and the amount of energy that's within this group is incredible, and the issues that we're facing across the country are very similar. So it's a very grassroots movement from local governments. Director Toth?
Yeah, I just wanted to add in that I support the concept in principle. Because I have not had a chance to read the letter, I'm trying to read it now. I'm going to vote against, but please don't take that with any meaning other than I haven't had a chance to read the letter.
Okay. Thank you, Director Toth, for that. Any other comments or questions from the other directors or from staff? Director Hiltz.
Yeah, thanks, Sherry. Well, I am reading the letter now, and it's that 1 page and an 8-point, and it does seem to be supportive of the strategic plan in terms of the climate change and community resilience. So yeah, late item, but I will support it.
Okay. Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Okay, so we have a motion on the table to be supportive and signatories to this letter as well. That's correct? Yep, okay. So I'm going to call the question, seeing that we have no more speakers list. All those in favor? Okay, those opposed? Okay, Director Toth, did you want it? Okay, you're good with that. Okay, great. No, not necessary to register Director Toth as being opposed. So, okay, thank you. So with that, next up, we are going to move into directors' reports. I will put myself first on the list, and then from there, we're going to go in reverse order of sign-in. So I took notes on how everybody came into the meeting, but I will start off with welcome back, everyone, to our first board meeting after our August break, which I don't know what happened to August. It just kind of disappeared on me anyways. A couple of items that I would like to note. I attended the Half Moon Bay Citizens Association annual general meeting, which was quite interesting, and got to hear about a couple of local author who actually writes books that are based on events in Half Moon Bay. Which was it was quite interesting to hear about that. And it was the Citizens Association in Half Moon Bay is one of our two main community associate. We have our Half Moon Bay Community Association and our Citizens Association, and they both have an incredible group of volunteers. The Ferry Advisory Commission for the Lower Sunshine Coast for our Route 3. We've had a lot of communication back and forth amongst us via email. I think we've only had one meeting. It feels like more, but I think it's because of all the email communication. I did forward a couple of emails to directors earlier this week regarding a couple of changes that are going to be happening. One of them is regarding Transport Canada is going to be reinstating the requirement for closed vessels there's a requirement from Transport Canada that if your vehicle is parked in a closed area, that you have to go up and be in the pedestrian area or so with COVID, they had taken that requirement off, allowing people to stay in their vehicles, even on the lower levels, including on our route. So they are reinstating that directive. However, on Route 3, they have found a way around it, so they will still be allowing passengers to stay within their vehicles on the lower decks, which is going to be welcome to, I know, all of our residents, because we like to stay in our vehicles when we're on our short ferry route. And so that's going to be very welcome on our route. That new directive does take place as of September 30th, and it will affect the larger routes for Vancouver Island. One thing I do want to note, the strategic planning session that the board and senior staff, the senior leadership team, along with our former interim CAL, Mark Brown, and Tracy Hinks, our executive assistant extraordinaire. I mean, she's incredible. We attended on was that just the 4th and 5th of September? It was just last week, or the 3rd and I can't even remember, 3rd and 4th of September. It was a really great session. Really enjoyed spending a day and a half with all of you in person, physically distanced, as well as having a nice tour of the Gibsons and Area Community Center. And that was, thank you so much to our entire team, all of our directors, and our senior leadership team for being a part of that. It was really good to actually be able to see everybody in person and rather than electronically. So that was really enjoyable, and to have that revisit of the strategic plan. So with that, I'm going to circle back to our other
Read emails that came in at the last minute. One thing I did want to add to the ferry advisory thing, they found a way around it by leaving the back doors of the boat open. Doesn't matter how it came to be. I just found that fun, rather amusing. So, what's going on in Seashell? Let's see. We had a delegation regarding the draft Seashell Water Conservation Plan, which included staff attendance here from RAF and REMCO. Items for both Seashell to consider, changes to our building bylaws, things like that, as well as some items for the SCRD. So hopefully we'll start agitating on that soon. We've started the AAP process for our operations center. Our bylaw is currently at or on its way to the Inspector of Municipalities for approval. We should be getting a report back soon with the award for the successful proponent. Let's see. We asked for an extension on the renaming of Wilson Creek to make sure that we have enough time to properly engage with both the Seashell Nation and the community association that covers that area. So far, we haven't had any letters against it. It's actually been fairly quiet, unlike the way things went down in Madeira Park. Yesterday, we had a delegation from the Salmon Enhancement Society looking for additional funding for well exploration on their property. They're looking at drilling eventually 2 12-inch wells to supply water to the site to get off of Chapman Creek and to allow them to properly raise fish. It seems like there's a lot of synergies between what the SCRD is trying to do with well exploration and what they're doing. So I hope our staff and their staff are trying to come together as much as they can. And we also had a conversation to look at revisiting our development cost charges when it comes to affordable housing projects. We're looking to align our terminology with the BC housing terminology, and our staff are bringing back a report looking at the financial implications of various levels of subsidy when we get to sort of affordable market rental definitions. I think that's it from the District of Seashell. I'm sure Darnelda has a whole bunch of other stuff that she'll fill in. Otherwise, August has been busy, just not with government work. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Toth. Next up, I have Director Lee from Area A. If you'd like to fill us in on what you did during your summer vacation.
Oh, worked on my boat. Actually got it all meeting insurance requirements now. I actually quite enjoyed our planning session, and I was surprised myself in that I was comfortable with the physical distance facilitating the in-person meetings. I wasn't at all. I was kind of reluctant to go, but with all of the protocols put in place, it was a comfortable feeling. So it proves to me that we can get meeting face to face again in this COVID world and still feel safe. We had a community emergency response meeting, the COVID response meeting at requests. We were meeting weekly originally, but we haven't met for a couple months. But there was a lot of members asked for a meeting, so we did have a meeting. And there was a lot of things that we attended to, getting volunteers for the Meals on Wheels and ensuring that the food bank had enough volunteers. Questions about our physicians coming back to the clinic, which they are doing. And also the washrooms at the Harbor Authority had been closed, and was a bit of a surprise. And we had to hustle, and we've actually got the ones in the visitor center open now. And the locksmith there he said if he had charged $1 for each visitor, he would have made his day's wages in the first couple hours. So they're fairly busy, which means they're pretty much needed. Thanks to Dean for following up on that and facilitating it happening. And Director Hall, it was good. The abandoned and illegal parked vehicles are moving along. We have 3 picked out, and the letters have gone out. There's a 14-day waiting period before we pull and take them to the junkie guy, but we should be doing that in the next week or so. It's basically a tow and destroy. The RCMP sent the letters out, and Modi is actually paying for the tow. So it's a trial to see how it goes, but these are vehicles that have been abandoned on the Modi right away, but in fact they're taking up parking at the top of our government docks that is in quite large demand for people using the facilities. So we're arranging to have them pulled. Hopefully we can move on from there and then start putting up no parking overnight signs and things like that and tow them guys too. But we'll see how she goes. So, and I was interested in that Al Alton said the 2 12-inch pipes for the salmon. That's a lot of water. What's it coming into? Is it an aquifer or something, or is it just going to steal water out of the creek and make it go lower?
We didn't really get too much into the technical details of what they're looking to drill and where and how, but they mentioned that they're wanting to do 2 6-inch test wells on the property. They've currently got 5 wells on the property now, but it sounds like 4 of them are no longer suitable for production, and 1 of them doesn't deliver the flows that they need. So they're investigating drilling on their property as well as drilling on the gun club property.
Oh, I was thinking maybe we should have been drilling there. Well, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Lee. You're getting drill happy.
Lots of water comes out of those holes.
Yeah. Okay. Next up on my list, I have Director Ties, Area D.
Thank you, Chair, and welcome back, everybody. I had a lovely August, and we're getting to the stage of fun fatigue, where you've had too much fun all summer long that you just want to stay home now, which is a good problem to have. And we did a lot of boating, and it's a great thing to do when you're in COVID times. It's pretty hard to get within 2 meters when you're on a boat. I also had the opportunity to read 2 books, which I highly recommend. One is Homo Deus by Yuval Harari, A Brief History of Tomorrow. So I was trying to scry the future. And then I'm currently reading Donut Economics by Kate Raworth, and that's a great book that kind of updates our outdated economic thinking to the 21st century. So tempted to send that as a Christmas present to our MLA and MP. I attended the co-housing asset management plan update for Roberts Creek Co-housing, and thank you to Kyle Doyle for the great presentation, and thank you to staff in general for keeping the communication up in that regard. I attended the WASAC meeting at the beginning of September, and we'll be discussing some of the recommendations that they put forward next week. But I was very pleasantly surprised by both the energy in the room, the amount of research and work that they put into the work that's or into options, and making sure that that we look at all the options. And I really think that this is, I also enjoyed doing the strategic plan review, and that was a nice way to get back into setting our goals and knowing and kind of figuring out why we're here in the first place. And this Saturday, I'm going to go hiking with the Living Forest Institute and ELF in the Dakota Bull Bear Sanctuary. I think some more people might be joining us, and I see Donna waving, but yeah, I think it should be a fun day to be had doing that. So that is it for me.
Thank you, Director Tice. Next up, I have Director Seegers.
Thank you. Director Toth mentioned a number of things. There's a couple of others. We did our District of Seashell strategic plan review as well. So education session around the opioid and overdose session. And there has been more work. I left the meeting this morning early to attend a session on the Lifeguard app. So it was an actual demonstration of what the Lifeguard app does, gave some background of the two fellows who came together to create it. And they had their own issues with regards to illicit drugs, etc., which had them move the project forward. Director McMahon and I attended the Senior Center for their solar panel unveiling. You probably saw the picture in the paper. They've got a little computer sitting there showing, every 15-minute increment how much energy they're actually generating, and they're looking at what the impact is on their costs there. I had the privilege to attend the orientation and the first board of directors meeting for Island Coastal Economic Trust. So, lot to learn. They went into the background of all of the different organizations throughout the province. And they said, like, many times we get compared to the Northern Trust or the Interior. And so they went into the funding models that actually created the different trusts. And if you get into that, you find out that both of those models had and have ongoing financial support way beyond what ICE-T has ever had. So we're doing the best we can with the money we have, and because of the funding model, they're able to do a lot more. For example, the Northern Trust, and Dean probably knows about this, but the Northern Trust actually spends their interest and not their principal. Well, we don't have the millions that they have sitting, that they can actually spend just the interest. So it's good. We're moving things forward. What else? Downtown Business Association, attended a few meetings there. They're looking at moving a project forward on Periwinkle Lane, which is the one behind Wharf. So behind the where Batch 44 is, etc., that back alley, they're looking at bring group people together, some artists, etc., and look at having that actually a pedestrian walkway back there. I think we talk about the WARF funding last time. I'm not sure when that came through. The District of Seashell was given some funding from the federal government for 2/3 of the cost of Wharf Avenue upgrades, and that is the side that batch 44 is on. And the Downtown Business Association applied to ICE-T and was awarded the other 1/3. So we have 100% funding for upgrading that piece in downtown Seashell. What else? Final one, and you've probably seen some articles in the paper about short-term rentals in the district of Seashell. I've been getting calls and emails, and council's been getting calls and emails about us and the bylaw that we're putting forward. Well, where we are is at the Advisory Planning Commission, 5 discussion papers are brought forward in preparation for the new zoning bylaw that we're looking to have come forward this fall. And they were asked for input on ALR uses, home businesses, residential infill, and urban agriculture, and finally short-term rentals. And the short-term rental conversation was quite interesting to take part in. They brought up all of the arguments that we've heard everywhere about every short-term rental, both sides, and in the end, the only thing they could agree on was that they were glad they weren't in our position and had to make a decision. So that's my report. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Director Seegers. Next up, I have the Town of Gibsons and Director Kroll, please.
Thank you, Chair Pratt. I guess everyone had a busy August. August 4th, we started out with the sort of ribbon cutting, as it were, although there wasn't a ribbon for the pump house facility for Zone 3 water. Director Seegers was there, Director Hiltz, Director McMahon, Chair Pratt, Dean and some of the staff were there, and we also had alternate director Jason Lewis. There was, it was a good event. I think there was some criticism in the paper about social distancing, but we got tape measures out and mathematically calculated that everyone was appropriately distanced. That was followed with the announcement. Not everyone was there, but it was the announcement with respect to the financing the town received, or the funding town received, for the stormwater control pond that's going in behind the swimming pool. That might solve a rec problem, a swimming hole as opposed to a swimming pool. Anyway, I didn't say that. So that was good. Also, at the same discussion around the pond, we made a formal announcement about the Healing Forest project, and to that end, Mayor Beamish sent a letter to the National Healing Forest people in Ottawa on the 19th of August that it's in fact becoming a reality. I popped in and out of the Climate Caucus conference. As I think Director McMahon indicated, there are a lot of very engaged, very passionate people about a huge reality that we just have to face up and deal with. So, the letter that we agreed to endorse earlier will also be coming from the town of Gibsons, and I'm sure the district of Seashell. I attended, it was a virtual meeting with Patrick Weiler and the Ministry of Fisheries, Minister Jordan. And again, a lot of concerns were brought up, specifically with the West Coast, the lack of dealing with derelict vessels, marine plastics, fishing waste, and the whole house sound biosphere. So she's, sadly, she missed a visit out here, so it was, hopefully, as travel becomes permissible again, we'll get her out here and hopefully be able to meet with her one-on-one. On the 20th, and I think Director Mayor Seegers was the driving force behind this, was and the CAT team, the education session on the opioid crisis. And valuable meeting. People tend to think, not in my neighborhood, not our problem. It's a huge problem on the coast. Mayor Seegers referenced the lifeguard app. If anyone knows of anyone who's in a vulnerable situation, and it's not just people who are using street drugs, it's even for people that are on prescription drugs. If they're concerned about their health, it's an app. It's brilliantly designed. I will mention, because I have been promoting it, they've just recently changed their app icon. It used to look like a Kisbee ring, so there was the association of falling in the water. And I don't know whether they took that away from it because it was being confused with boating apps, but it's now a cross on a green field. But certainly it's a free app. Anyone that you know that uses prescription drugs and may have any conflicting health issues, it's worth recommending. Chair Pratt mentioned the Ferry Advisory Board, and to that end, there's a survey that BC Ferries are doing. It's called Moving Forward Together. The date for it closing to participation is Monday the 14th. And one of the big issues that has come up is that it's a very stinted demographic that's been responding to it so far. It's mostly people over 50 that have been responding to it. And for younger people, for families, for young people that have fabric shops and need to be commuting back and forth with the ferry system, they really need to get their input in. So the closing for that is the 14th, Monday. Highly recommend that you get your voice in there. Town of Gibson's has a public hearing on Monday with respect to our tree bylaw. And also we're dealing with the short-term rental thing. It's going to be interesting. That's about it from downtown Gibson's. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kroll, and thank you very much for mentioning the BC Ferries engagement process. I had completely forgotten about that. It's an important public engagement process that they're going through. They're offering a number of up to 10 positions via application, as well as 10 appointed positions to this working group to discuss our routes specifically. I know I circulated a letter to our directors probably about week and a half ago, and it's a good process. So if we do know of anybody who might be interested and from that younger demographic, I'm just before we continue on through directors' reports, Director Kroll, I'll come back to your hand up in just a second. There was the Seashell District Chamber of Commerce is hosting a meeting that's about to start in a few minutes with the Minister of Transportation, Claire Trevena. And we had been invited to that if we wanted to either adjourn our meeting or recess our meeting until after. It's a short period of time, and I'll just look to the directors for any guidance or any direction in that way, or just power through the rest of our meeting. We do have a meeting with Minister Trevena next week during UBCM, so I don't know if we I'll look to directors to see if anybody wants to make a motion to recess or anything, or if there's any guidance. Otherwise, we'll just continue to power through. Okay, there's our answer. Director Kroll, you had your hand up to just add in there. I saw that.
Two quick things. The BC Ferries survey, it's called Moving Forward Together. The link to it is on their website. If you just Google Moving Forward Together BC Ferries, it pops up. And I'm assuming that the meeting with the Chamber and Minister Trevena is going to be recorded. So it might be an idea that if we had an opportunity to review that recording before we meet with her later in the month.
Excellent. All right. Thank you. Next up on my list, I have Director Hiltz, Area F. What's going on in West Howe Sound?
What's going on in West Howe Sound? It rained in West Howe Sound. And I do want, I'm not sure if anyone has actually given thanks to the rain gods for filling up Chapman. I don't know if we've done that officially, but that's my official statement, to thank you for the rain. However, there are certain people in Grantham's Landing who are not very thrilled with the rain because there is significant erosion again. It was an intense downpour that we had. Gambier Island had 1.6 inches of rain in an hour, which is a really intense rainfall. So that's why Chapman got filled up, and so that's the rain part. August was definitely a constituent month, catching up with the Gambier Island people and Keats Island people. Phone calls about various issues kept coming. Kind of the highlight, I think, is WASAC, Water Supply Advisory Committee, which I think now have had 3 meetings. I was there for the inaugural meeting, and I was there for the last one. And I'm just going to shout outs to the Infrastructure Services for bringing this. It's an enthusiastic, determined group of people, I must say. And Jim Rosenboom and staff came up with some graphics to help decipher how recommendations move through the tortuous process of local government. I'm going to keep reviewing this. It's a triangle-y thing. I think it's on the website, I believe, as part of, but it was really nice to see, because people there want to move things quickly through the process. So staff seems to have been able to create a nice slot for this to move through efficiently. And I think that's really appreciated by the people who aren't necessarily comfortable with the process, speeds that move through. Thanks for that. And yeah, I wanted to say thanks for the District of Seashell, the opioid crisis, the education point, and the peer speaking, the peer who spoke about how their life from childhood to adulthood and addictions played a role in that. It's eye-opening, I guess. I consider myself fortunate in that regard. So thanks to the District of Seashell for organizing that. What else have we got? The library, that was the last thing. Gibsonton District Public Library board meeting was this Monday, I believe. They continue to operate. The public is enthused. I think they're returning to about 25% of in-person visits, and they're about 70% way to pre-COVID checking out items. So the public wants to come back. And I guess for me, that comes to the safety part of COVID. And I'll say thanks to planning GM Ian Hall and staff for, I guess I felt uncomfortable as well going out of the bubble and joining all the colleagues around the table, and to know that they're managing risks and being aware of them. And I think the public will be very wanting to come back. And I guess I see the board as leaders in showing how to manage risk. Because I'd hate to be like Enderby Council and having the whole Enderby Council go into self-quarantine. So yeah, I think we're doing well that way. And yeah, wastewater issues are coming up. Our Langdale issue meeting comes up this Monday, I believe. So looking forward to that. So I think that's enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Hiltz. And then we will finish up with Director McMahon and Area E.
Hello. It was nice to see all the gang again in person. I really started to realize how much I'm missing face-to-face meetings. How we're going to manage UBCM kind of defies my comprehension right at the moment. Like everybody else, I've been fairly busy. I've been attending 4 of the working groups of the Climate Caucus, the Buildings Group, Zero Waste, forest carbon, and carbon budget and accountability. I haven't made every meeting, but it's been very educational. I've picked up a lot of knowledge, and there's some extraordinarily capable and well-informed people in that group. So I've made good contacts, which I very much appreciate. I dropped in on one of the WASAC meetings. That was fun. Went to the opioids thing, Solar Association launch. I got my newsletter out the other day, and while the newsletter was electronically flitting off to people, I hiked up Mount Elphinstone, and I picked the day that the smoke was rolling in from Washington State. And it was quite a sight. I can send you the photos if you like, but from the top of Elphinstone, you could see this blanket of smoke coming in over the city. And you could see the tendrils of smoke starting to work their way up the mountain, just the way the clouds usually come up, except that it was smoke. And going back down again, you could really smell it, and it was, stinging eyes. And it took me back to a couple years ago when our province was on fire. I have friends in Seattle, Portland, and Bay Area, so they're pretty scared, frankly. It's a very alarming situation. I have more meetings. I met with the Elphinstone Community Association last night. Sunnyside Septic was the night before. Wood Creek Park is tonight. And the other thing that's sort of interesting is that I seem to have gotten on the circuit for graduate students. I got interviewed by a zoology graduate student about how sound biodiversity. And yesterday I was interviewed by an economics student about ways of investing in our local economies in rural areas. And that was a good discussion. So very much enjoyed it. I think that's about it for right now. So that's it for Elphinstone for now.
Excellent. Thank you, Director McMahon. There's a couple of things that came up that I realized I didn't say anything about either. Seashell Library opens on September the 15th for more into the public, bringing themselves into the public. They've been doing, of course, an abridged service, I guess, is probably the best description of it. But they're opening their doors on September the 15th officially. And one thing I would like to acknowledge that even though we've had a month's break, I guess I'm going to call it that, staff has been working really, really hard. The weekly water updates, Remco, from your department have been so welcome out in the community. I love being able to post those links. That's fantastic. And all of the wastewater engagement, I know that's been really good. Kyle's been doing a great job, CFO. So he's very versed in that. So, and I know there's been a couple of technical difficulties, but for anybody that wants to watch, they're all available on YouTube. Planning department, I know, has been very busy, as well as community development and recreation, and with the reopening. And I'm hoping the reopening is going well. GM Hall, it was good to get into to Gibson's when we did our, because that was officially the first day of opening, the day we were there, wasn't it? And learning about the protocols and everything in place was really important. And I know our corporate officer with her team and getting everything, that they've been super busy, and it just, all of our departments have been working really well. So thank you to everyone, and a huge thank you to staff. I know it's been really stressful, especially those on the front line with transit. Anyone who's been dealing with the public directly in our office. I think about Heather and Diane, who have just been stellar through the whole whole part, and the entire team. If just a huge thank you to everyone. Please, CAO, if you could pass that on from the. I think I echo what the rest of the board would say. I mean, this has not been an easy process, and at least they didn't have to run after us for the month of August. So, we took ourselves out of the equation-ish a little, and but we noticed the job that they're doing, and just huge thank you to all of our staff members who are continuing to power through and make things happen, and the incredible community engagement that's going on right now is it's fantastic. It's what we were hoping to see, and so thank you all so much for that. If you can pass that on to your teams, that's we're really impressed, and thank you. So, and I know some of the social media backlash is not always fun to read, and thank you to the directors who weighed into it. I know Director Toth does quite frequently push back sometimes and helps to support staff there as well. And I know the job isn't always easy, so thank you to everyone who's on the front lines and in the background with helping out. So with that, we do have an item of new business, and that is regarding UBCM. And Director McMahon, would you like to introduce this, as it is your subject item that you wish to bring forward?
Sure. Well, the first question, have we made a motion to pay ourselves for UBCM?
I don't believe it's necessary because I think it's already covered under the bylaw. Is that correct, Corporate Officer?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering how we're planning for this. For instance, the minister meetings. Is there a protocol set up? Is somebody speaking to each item? Is it a different person? Is it one person? How are we going to do that?
So who's taking the lead on each item? I know that's something Director Seekers and I spoke about earlier this week was, how are we going to handle that? And some of these meetings that we're actually going to be sitting in with Team Sunshine Coast or as Team Sunshine Coast, if we can make sure that they allow us to do that, because with the electronic format, it looks like there might be a few restrictions if you didn't pre-register. So our administrative assistants, our executive assistants are working that out amongst each other between Tracy and Carrie Ann, along with the CAOs, I believe. And as for the team lead on each item, we can discuss that now, or we can, one of the other thoughts I had is I can send out a Zoom invite to all of the Sunshine Coast elected that are attending UBCM over the weekend, and we can just, over the weekend, we can have a meeting to discuss who's going to be team lead on each one, which might be a better way of doing it, because there might be some items, like, for example, that we've brought forward that, or that the district of Seashell, that, one of the rural directors might be able to help with in co-leading, because I know, because we were only able to bring up 3 subject matters for each one, they've had to mix and match a few of the meetings. So, and then also there's a couple of the meetings where we would need staff to take the lead. Like I'm thinking the Flynn Road. So I'm going to look to the CAO if you want to jump in here with anything. I know GM Rosenboom, there's the one Flynn Road one around Church Road that we might want you on for. So CAO McKinley.
I wonder, I'd be happy to participate in a discussion where we maybe have a dedicated Zoom meeting to just going through and game planning for all of these. It's probably of benefit to do that. And we could just find some time if that works for folks, and I'd be happy to help out. I'm sure Tracy'd be happy to participate in that as well.
The only thing with the limited time, it's either going to have to be later today or sometime before Monday, because our first meeting is on Monday. Director Seekers.
Thank you. When we went to the meetings last year,
Mhm.
and we implemented the Team Sunshine Coast, what we found beneficial, I mean, I think I speak for all of us, we found beneficial was bringing the various groups together. So we might, in the district of Seashell, have somebody be the lead, but the town of Gibson's has other points on that same topic that they want to have brought forward. So what we did is when we got together as a group, we kind of hashed that out to actually do that. The difficulty we're going to have this year is we're not using Zoom, we're using telephone. So we won't even see everybody else who's on the call, and they won't see everybody else who's on the call. So we're going to have to be very prepared in going forward with that. Because there won't be an opportunity to say, well, you know, I want to put this point forward, or I want to put this point forward. We're going to need to do all of that work ahead of time. So that's why, you know, when Chair Pratt and I talked about that, she suggested that we get together as a group beforehand so that we're really clear when we go forward, the points we want to put forward and who's actually speaking from the various governments. So we cover off all the points.
I completely agree with this. We need to be prepared for these meetings. And I have some specific concerns around DL 1313 that we can get to. So tomorrow, can we meet tomorrow?
Well, the other option is because these meetings are so spread out over the week, there are a few, like, for example, the first one that comes up on Monday is the archaeological costs one. So, I mean, there's some of these meetings that we, you know, that one, if there's anything else that's happening later in the week, like we can kind of, it'd be nice to get it all done in one fell swoop, but we might have to readjust strategy as we go. So I think the big thing is making sure that we have anybody who's going to be attending these meetings at least has a chance to sit down ahead of time. And so we can either do that, I can set up a Zoom meeting that the elected and our CAOs are a part of, and then go from there. Would that work to start? I think that's probably the way forward. Darnelda, Director Seegers?
Is there time tomorrow afternoon before 4? We have an MPMLA meeting at 4.
Right. I have time. Why don't the CAO and I figure it out and send out invites after? Does that work, CAO? Perfect. Okay. Director Hiltz.
I'm looking at the calendar. There is also Monday morning, right? There is a big chunk of time Monday morning, depending on schedules. It's Tuesday is when it really hits the high flow rate.
The environmental flow rate? Okay. I would prefer to get the majority of it done before Monday morning. I know Director Seegers is fully booked Monday morning, I believe.
Yeah,
so,
I am.
And she's going to be a key part of the conversation on a lot of these items. So there's, but it is an option. But if we'll try and get something figured out for tomorrow so that everyone has a free weekend. But if not, then we will look at a few other options. Okay. Okay. Great. Does that work? Okay. Anything else under UBCM, Director McMahon?
Yes. So far, nobody that I've talked to has heard anything about what kind of a platform is going to be used, what kind of technology. Apparently, it's not Zoom, it's something else. If staff hears anything, because, you know, it'd be nice if they even had a chance to beta test it. We're less than 2 weeks away. and nobody seems to have any idea how this is going to work, which is a bit alarming. And the elections for UBCM this year are pretty important. So that's one thing we should focus on. The other thing is that last year we had an app for Team Sunshine Coast. I think it was Alton suggested it, but we should have a way to talk to each other about, you know, what panels we're attending and what items of interest are coming up. Do we have a way to touch base with each other?
Well, we still actually all have the Sunshine Coast Elected WhatsApp, but I see that you left it on July the 19th. We had a group set up, which we could certainly still do, or because that's WhatsApp works great on a number of levels. I know the district of Seashell already uses it. So
okay.
We use it within my family as a family group conversation. So
if somebody wants to send me an invite, I'll go back, but there was something like it wanted me to upgrade the app or buy something, or I can't remember what it was.
Oh, no, you shouldn't need to do that, Director McMahon, but let me, one of us can re-add you, I think. Oh, and thank you, Director Ties, for saying hi, yoo-hoo to all of us. So, and we could probably add the CAOs to this as well. Okay.
I'm sure they'd love that.
I'm sure they would. Maybe we should just let them have their own. Okay. Anything else under UBCM? Okay. See none. That's it for new business. Oh, Director Hill, sorry.
So there is no intent for any kind of in-person. This whole next 2 weeks is just in ether land here, right? That's the intent. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what we got. Yep.
That's it. That's what we got. That's what we got. Rather than what's interesting is UBCM has now gone from a 4 or 5 day event to a 14-day event because it's over the 2 weeks now. So it's quite protracted in its length rather than being shorter. So okay. So with that, that's the end of our regular agenda, and I don't see any. I do see that we have an in-camera portion. We don't have any more members of the public, but after we make the motion for in-camera, we will go to any questions should somebody suddenly appear or have left a question for us. So I will ask for a motion that the public be excluded from attendance in the meeting in accordance with Section 91A, C, G, K, and 2B of the Community Charter. If I can have that motion, please. Director McMahon, seconded Director Toth. All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, over to, would everybody like just a couple of minutes to stretch their legs, secure your facility, etc.? If we say 3 o'clock, is that too long of a time? Does that work for everyone? Okay. All right. So we will come back to, first I do have a question from the audience. Before we fully adjourn, I just received one from Sophie. And this is from Sophie Woodruff. Okay, she was declined from, okay, so it appears the emergency use of washrooms at recreation facilities is no longer available. Can more information be provided about why not and which facilities will no longer be offering emergency washroom/shower services? So I'll look to staff for any guidance on that. GM Hall?
Thank you, Chair. Staff can follow up with the media inquiry if there are additional questions, but as we transition to restart SCRD won't be providing the service through BC Housing at the Gibsons and District Aquatic Facility or the Seashell Aquatic Center, as we move our staff back to their primary duties.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And then Sophie has also copied Dean, our CAO, on this email as well, so he will follow up. So, yeah. Okay. Are there any other questions? Samir, were there any other questions posed to us?
No, not in the chat.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we will see everybody back here at 3 o'clock for our in-camera agenda, please. Okay.
I will put on the
Thank you.
in-camera label now, so when you're back, you're ready to go.
Okay. And thank you and welcome back to the regularly scheduled board meeting of September 10th, 2020. With that, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn, please. So moved, seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Next time, I promise to be a little bit more efficient with our time. Bye, everyone.